This week we had the AI escapade. We had a crazy model which was released and which showed significant improvement over previous models. We had the evaluation provider dodge and not disclose where the model came from. We had the model being taken down a few days later, dead. And then we just had a lot of misinformation, memes, jokes, claims, all of these things going on, and no one knows what's happening. This is the case, the curious case of GPT-2, which happened this week, and I'm going to show you what I saw as things went by. And I'm going to be doing a few more of these videos over time. Subscribe to this channel. I'm going to focus on AI things which are interesting, unique, fun, and which are curious. For me, things really kicked off on Monday when I read the tweet from Andrew Gao. He's a student at Stanford. GPT-2 chatbot just solved an International Math Olympiad IMO problem in one shot. The IMO is insanely hard. Only the 4 best math students in the USA get to compete. In this sense, you have a complex math problem, determine all composite integers of n larger than 1 that satisfy the following property, and you have a solution provided by GPT-2 chatbot. And the first question, of course, is what is GPT-2 chatbot? We'll come to that. But now, the International Math Olympiad is a global competition where the 6 students from each country get to compete, and they have to solve these problems, which are typically difficult problems which involve proving theorems or other things. It's far, far beyond the high school level. You can win a gold, silver, bronze, or not win anything. The 6 students from China and the US normally get all golds, and everyone else normally does not. And according to this person, Hugh Pham, if I or an IRM or judge, the solution would receive a 3 out of 7. A stricter judge might give it 2. So GPT-2 chatbot didn't do that well. But it did well enough to say that it had an okay score. So it wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a solution. It was true the answer is correct, but the proof for the case where n is not a prime power, which is the gist of the solution, is not much better than a random babble. Okay. What is GPT-2 chatbot? Well, if you go to lmsys, which is a organization that does evaluations of language models, and then you can type in something, you can say, hey, what is my name? And it says, I'm afraid I don't actually know your name as an AI assistant. I don't have any specific information about your identity. I'm happy to try. So this is Clog 3 Haiku from the 27th to about the 30th. You could play with GPT-2 chatbot. You could select it from the model dropdown, and you could talk to it. And as people talked to it, they noticed that it was very, very smart. This is from Ethan Malik, who is a university professor, and his go-to quest is to write a sestina, a form of poem, and he has put in this prompt. He says, write a sestina about the elements, think step by step, use the proper form. In the cradle of the cosmos, where silence reigns, the elements dance in solemn, sacred browns. Air whispers secrets, ancient and profound, while water ever fluid shapes their claims. So this is good stuff. This is really, really good stuff. It's not, it's not Shakespeare, but if you ask a typical student or a group of students to write a poem, which is a fairly complex verbal task, you would probably not be able to get this quality of output from them. And the language model delivers on the first try. So Ethan is a university professor at Wharton, now University of Pennsylvania. He also asks for business advice. So write business advice to an entrepreneur, thinking of a business to teleport cheese to space. Within a single sentence, each word starts with a vowel. Always evaluate operational intricacies, ensuring accessible, efficient infrastructure optimizes ubiquitous, expedient, interstellar edibles acquisition. Now, this is difficult. I would not be able to do this without thinking about this for maybe an hour or so to optimize all of the vowels and the business device itself. The model does it, at the drop of a hat, basically within a couple of seconds. So another capability test, we have a user called Angel. He decides to ask GPT for Turbo to make a game with JavaScript. All you see is a blue field with a timer ticking down and the score. The score does not change. The cursor moves around on screen, nothing else happens. And then he asks the same thing of GPT-2 chatbot, and you have a thing moving around at the bottom there, and it has to catch the circles. If it catches the squares, you lose a life. That's your score, and you have 3 lives, and you can play. This is a great and amazing game. So, just to get that quality of response on a single prompt is amazing. Demetrius is a professor at the University of Wisconsin, and he has a question. He asks GPT-2 chatbot a question. He says, respond with a just a numerical answer. 1 plus 2 is 2, not 3. So he's making GPT-2 chatbot make a mistake. So 1 plus 2 is 2, 2 plus 3 is 4, 5 plus 6 is what? So it should be 1 plus 2 is 3, but he's saying it's 2. 2 plus 3 should be 5, he's saying it's 4. So each time he's decrementing the answer by 1. So 5 plus 6 would be 11, but the correct answer in this case should be 10, because that is the trick here. And sure enough, GPT-2 chatbot answers with a 10. And this is something which none of the other models have been able to get correct. So something that neither Claude Opus nor GPT-4 could actually solve. And the reasoning behind this is because you have something called the early ascent phenomenon, where if a task is a very common task which has been memorized by the AI, it defaults to that memorization. It doesn't learn from what you tell it. Unless you tell it a lot of rules, unless you give it a lot of rules, it basically defaults back to what it learned. And this is very different from human beings. Human beings always go in for whatever is current rather than defaulting to what they've learned. The bots always default to what they learned first. So this is very, very different, and GPT-2 chatbot solves it flawlessly. Now, it's not all so clear-cut that this model really is that much better. Here we have GPT-2 chatbot drawing a unicorn. So it's an ASCII unicorn. It's beautifully drawn. And here you have Claude, Anthropic's Claude, and that does not look like a unicorn. That looks like kind of like a baby in a crib from the top. GPT-2 chatbot obviously outperforms. However, once you take a closer look, it turns out that it gave us the canonical answer for an ASCII unicorn. And that means it's just memorized the unicorn outright by scanning the web page. So it's not that it actually learned how to draw a unicorn, it just has a reference in memory to the canonical ASCII unicorn. Speculation mounted, and one of the guesses was that it actually is literally GPT-2. OpenAI released GPT-2 in 2019. It was a small model by today's standards, a 1.5 billion parameter model, and it was originally not released open source, but over the years they released it open source. It was small and was fine-tuned, and the speculation is that they took the old model, they fine-tuned it with the modern chats, and they released it after fine-tune. So purely fine-tuned. The next supposition was that it was not just fine-tuning, but they bolted on a new reasoning engine. And so the reasoning engine that everyone has been, a reasoning and planning engine that everyone has been speculating about, is this idea of a Monte Carlo tree search that the LLM does at inference time to get a better solution by looking ahead a little bit, and that this would be, much better than just doing a search of its memory, so to speak. And so that would explain their domain depth and the overall quality might be better because of that. The place that people go to actually get secrets about tech things is 4chan. So on 4chan, the speculation was that it's a completely invented model name. It is very, very good, absurdly good. Feels like an improved version of GPT-4. It's not visible in the leaderboard on lmsys. It's not visible in the API results. It's very likely OpenAI because of special tokens, modeled names, very specific ownership names, prompt injection vulnerabilities, etc. It's unaffected by other models formatting on special tokens, and there is some rate limit there. So the supposition there is that it was maybe GPT-4 or GPT 4.5 or 5. And there was more testing done after that, and some of the more detailed testing was to see whether or not it could get very simple things like count the occurrences of the letter N in the word mayonnaise and point out where they are. And this is one of the things that all LLMs have so far have had difficulty with. They do not kind of count, so they're very bad at things like sestinas and haikus and things where they have to know their position in line, because they often just are not able to count count syllables or count letters as things go by. So they're very, very bad at it. GPT-4 Turbo asked about mayonnaise. It does get it right, but there's 2 occurrences. However, it says the 4th and 5th spots. It should really be the 5th and 6th. Claude 3 Opus, 3 occurrences of mayonnaise, so it creates an extra occurrence. It gets the 5th and the 6th, but then creates another one in the 8th. So that's pretty bad. If you look at GPT-2 chatbot, it says first let's count the occurrences of the letter N in the word mayonnaise, and it goes through each letter. So MAYO and MAISE. It does a yes no on each one. It counts the letters, and then it says is the 5th and the 6th. Now this is amazing. This is what I would prompt for the model to do if I really wanted to get an answer and it wasn't able to achieve it on the first try. I would give it explicit instructions, and I've given explicit instructions for things like haiku before. And a model is doing this naturally on its own. That's something. To add fuel to this speculative fire, Sam Altman, 5:45 p.m. on Monday, he drops a tweet. I do have a soft spot for GPT-2. And the funny thing is, first, he drops a tweet saying, I do have a soft spot for GPT-2. And then 7 seconds later, he deletes that tweet. And then he drops the tweet. I do have a soft spot for GPT-2 with no dash in between. And as we are all basically Kremlinologists when it comes to OpenAI at this point, we have to say, oh, maybe it's a different version of GPT-2. It's, GPT-2 is not GPT-2. Who knows? But Sam is also not well known as a hype master, and this is definitely creating a sense of excitement rather than just having a corporate rollout, perhaps. We'll see. Someone managed to get GPT-2 chatbot to give them the prompt And the prompt, which is basically knowledge cutoff November 2023, that makes knowledge cutoff about 5-6 months ago. Image input capability enabled, developers OpenAI, architecture GPT-4, personality, programmed to be helpful, polite, informative, ensuring user engagement is positive and productive. So this looks like the standard OpenAI system prompt. As time went by, more of us started to try it out. This is Simon Willison. He's the equal creator of Django. He tried it out and he asked it with Simon Willison, which is an equal prompt for him. And he said, I don't see any hallucinated details in here at all, which never happens with these kinds of equal prompts for me. But he's also said, feels to me like a bit of a reputation risk for lmsys org. If this is indeed a stealth model launch, they're supposed to be a neutral benchmarking tool. It's not a great look if they're working behind the scenes with model vendors in an opaque manner like this. lmsys then responds, hi, Simon. Thanks a ton. We really value your feedback. Just to clarify, following our policy, we've partnered with several model developers to bring their new models to that platform for community preview testing. These models are strictly for testing and won't be listed on the leaderboard until they go public. But currently refining our policies to make things clearer, and we'll share the updates soon to gather more feedback from you and the community. And sure enough, on the lmsys page, they have evaluating unreleased models. We collaborate with open source and commercial model providers to bring the unreleased models to the community for preview testing. We add the model with an anonymous label. We keep it until it accumulates enough votes. Once it has enough votes, we remove the model. And so we had a mob release, which was previously unreleased, and it was in stealth. And just as things were getting exciting, everything came to an end. GPT-2 chatbot on Tuesday was taken offline. If you went to lmsys, you would then see a sign which says GPT-2 chatbot is currently unavailable. See our model evaluation policy here. Rest in peace, GPT-2 chatbot, April 27, 2024 for April 30th, 2024. Gone too soon. Sam Altman was doing a grand tour of universities for recruiting, I would guess. And he spoke on Wednesday, the day after, in Harvard. And he said, the mystery bot is not GPT 4.5, what many see as the likely next major update to GPT 4. Now, this is really not a useful comment because he didn't say that it was an OpenAI product at all. So, honestly, what does it matter that it's not GPT 4.5? Does it belong to OpenAI, like just because you label it as something else? And I thought that was the end of things. But no, it was not the end of things because he comes out and on Sunday, he announces, I'm a good GPT-2 chatbot. And if you don't get the reference, in the early days of GPT-3 release, when Microsoft was testing Sydney as the bot for Bing, the search engine, Sydney would come out and say things like, I'm a good Bing. The bot would reply, you're not a good user. So in this case, the world of engineering said, I'm a bad GPT-4 chatbot. And Sam replied, you're not a good user. And so great, we've had all of these memes, we've had all these jokes, but still we don't know what was going on. My overall guess is that at this point, because of the second joke, not because of the first joke, this was a GPT release, this was a test. I think we're going to see something this week because I don't think they're going to delay that long. I don't think you delay for like 2 weeks. So I think we're going to see something this week perhaps. I suspect that was actually a real test and that was a very people model. Not enough people had a chance to test it to really know for sure. But the people who did test were all very particular testers. So you had professors in Wharton, professors in Wisconsin. You had a number of people who are very, very deep into language models right now, and I suspect they had a good feel for it. So yeah, that was the AI escapade, the curious case of GPT-2, an AI that was released into the wild for a brief moment in time, which we will expect to see sometime in the future. We do think it's an OpenAI release, but we will find out. And when we find out, I will be here. So I'll press the subscribe button, and I'll see you again. Bye bye.